Welcome back to Quarter Dollar. And folks, I need you to stop what you're doing right now because what I'm about to show you could change your financial future forever. You've got state quarters sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, maybe in that old jar on your dresser, and you've been spending them like they're worthless. But here's the shocking truth that coin dealers don't want you to know. Some of these state quarters, the ones you've been handling every single day without a second thought, are selling at auction for over $450,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $450,000 for a single quarter. And today I'm going to reveal the top 10 state quarters that could make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. These aren't rare museum pieces locked away in vaults. These are coins that are still in circulation right now, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to discover them. So before you spend another quarter, before you hand one to a cashier or toss it in a parking meter, you need to watch this entire video because by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for. And if you find even one of these coins, your life could change overnight. Now, if you're serious about finding valuable coins and you don't want to miss a single opportunity to build wealth from your pocket change, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Because every week I'm bringing you the latest coin values, the hidden errors, and the secrets that could put thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket. Don't let another valuable coin slip through your fingers. Subscribe now, and let's get started with coin number 1. First up on our countdown is a quarter that most people throw into parking meters without a second glance, but what I'm holding right here could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. This is the 1999 Georgia State Quarter, and before you think it's just another piece of pocket change, let me tell you why collectors are paying absolutely insane amounts of money for this coin. Look at this beauty right here. You can see the outline of Georgia, the state peach sitting right in the center, those beautiful live oak sprigs wrapping around the design, and that banner with the state motto, wisdom, justice, moderation. Now, this particular coin I'm showing you has been in circulation. You can see some wear on the high points, a bit of toning and discoloration in the fields, but the details are still sharp enough to identify. And that's exactly the kind of coin you might find in your change right now. The 1999 Georgia Quarter was the fourth coin released in the 50 state quarters program, hitting circulation on July 19th, 1999. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia struck 451 million of these quarters, and the Denver Mint produced 488 million more. That's nearly 940 million coins total. So you're probably thinking, with that many coins out there, how could they possibly be valuable? Well, here's where it gets absolutely shocking. It's not the regular coins that are making people rich. It's the error coins, the mistakes, the ones that slipped through quality control and made it into your hands. And some of these errors are so rare and so valuable that finding just one could change your entire financial situation overnight. Let's talk about the most valuable error first, the one that has collectors losing their minds. It's called the experimental planchet error, and this is where a Georgia quarter was accidentally struck on a planchet that was meant for the Sacagawea dollar coin. These error quarters weigh more than normal, about 6 grams instead of 5.67 grams. They're thicker, they have a golden or greenish tint instead of that silver color. And here's the dead giveaway. They have no copper stripe on the edge, and the reading is either missing or very faint. If you find one of these experimental planchet Georgia quarters certified by PCGS or NGC, you're looking at auction values up to $10,000. Yes, $10,000 for a single quarter. But wait, it gets even better. In 2022, a 1999 Philadelphia Georgia quarter with a missing clad layer and a striking error sold at auction for $122,000. You heard that right. $122,000. That's more than most people make in 2 years, and it came from a 25-cent coin. Now let's talk about off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned in the press and part of the design gets cut off. A typical 15% off-center Georgia quarter can sell for anywhere from $100 to over $1,000 if it's in high grade and certified. But if you find one that's dramatically off-center, where a large portion of the design is missing but the date is still visible, you could be looking at several $1,000s, and there are also double die errors on these Georgia quarters, where parts of the design appear doubled because the die was struck multiple times during production. A 1999 Philadelphia, Georgia quarter with a spectacular double die error sold for over $4,000 in 2015, and a PC GSMS 68 graded double die example fetched $7,500 in 2018. Even minor errors like die cracks, die chips, and missing clad layers can be worth anywhere from $50 to $800 depending on the severity and condition. So how do you identify a potentially valuable 1999 Georgia quarter? First, check the weight. If it feels heavier than normal, weigh it. Normal quarters are 5.67 grams. If yours is over 6 grams, you might have that experimental planchet error. Second, look at the color. If it has a golden or greenish tint instead of silver, that's a major red flag. Third, examine the edge. No copper stripe and reduced reading means you need to get that coin certified immediately. Fourth, look for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing. And fifth, use a magnifying glass to check for doubled images in the lettering or design elements. Even a circulated 1999 Georgia quarter in average condition is worth about 30 to 50 cents, but if you find one in uncirculated condition, graded MS65 or higher, you're looking at $20 to $100. And if you find any of those major errors we just talked about, you could be holding a coin worth tens of thousands, even over $100,000. So before you spend another Georgia quarter, take a close look. Check the weight. Check the color. Check for errors. Moving on to coin number 2, and folks, if you thought that Georgia quarter was impressive, wait until you hear what I'm about to reveal about this next coin. This is the 2000 Massachusetts state quarter, and what makes this coin absolutely mind-blowing is that it holds the record for one of the most expensive error quarters ever sold in American history. We're not talking about thousands of dollars here. We're talking about a single quarter that sold for over $380,000. Let that sink in for a moment. $380,000 for a coin that was minted just 25 years ago. Now, take a good look at this particular Massachusetts quarter I'm holding. This coin has seen some circulation. You can see the wear on the high points, especially on the Minuteman figure and around the lettering. There's some toning across the surface, that grayish patina that develops over time when a coin changes hands thousands of times. The details are still visible. The day 2000 is clear, and you can make out all the design elements. This is exactly the kind of condition you'd find in your pocket change, your car's console, or that coin jar you've been ignoring for years. And here's the terrifying part. You could have spent a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars without ever knowing it. The Massachusetts quarter was the 6th coin released in the 50-state quarters program, entering circulation on January 3rd, 2000. The Philadelphia Mint produced 628 million of these quarters, and the Denver Mint struck 535 million more. That's over 1.1 billion coins flooding into circulation. But hidden among those billion coins are errors so rare and so valuable that finding just one would be like winning the lottery without buying a ticket. Let's talk about the error that changed everything for Massachusetts quarters. It's called the Sacagawea dollar mule error, and this is where a Massachusetts quarter design was accidentally struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet. These error coins are golden in color instead of silver. They're significantly heavier, weighing around 8.1 grams instead of the normal 5.67 grams. And here's the kicker. In May 2000, a gloved hand error Massachusetts quarter struck on a Sacagawea planchet and graded MS67 by PCGS, sold at auction for a staggering $384,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $384,000 for a single quarter. But that's not the only error making people wealthy. There's also the experimental planchet error, similar to what we saw with Georgia, where Massachusetts quarters were struck on manganese brass planchets intended for dollar coins. These have that distinctive golden color. They weigh more than normal, and the edge shows no copper stripe. A certified example of this error can sell for anywhere from $15,000 to over $50,000, depending on the grade and the severity of the error. Off-center strikes are another gold mine with Massachusetts quarters. When the coin blank isn't properly centered in the press, you get a partial design with blank areas on the coin. A Massachusetts quarter that's 20 to 30% off-center with the date still visible can sell for $500 to $3,000. But if you find one that's dramatically off-center, where half the design is missing, but you can still see the date and mint mark, you're looking at $10,000 or more. There are also broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the collar die that normally holds it in place. These quarters are larger in diameter than normal, the edge has no reading, and they look almost like oversized blanks with a design stamped on them. A Massachusetts broad strike error in high grade can fetch anywhere from $800 to $5,000. And then there are the double die errors. These occur when the die used to strike the coin was itself struck multiple times, creating a doubling effect in the lettering or design elements. Look closely at the words Massachusetts, the date 2000, or the phrase E pluribus unum. If you see any doubling, any shadow effect where the letters look like they have been stamped twice, you need to get that coin certified immediately. Doubled die Massachusetts quarters have sold for anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000, depending on the severity and grade. So how do you identify a potentially valuable Massachusetts quarter? First, check the weight. If it feels unusually heavy, weigh it on a digital scale. Anything over 6 grams is a red flag. Second, look at the color. If it's golden or has a brass tint instead of silver, you might have that experimental planchet error worth tens of thousands. Third, examine the edge carefully. No copper stripe and smooth or reduced reading means you need to stop everything and get that coin. Next up is coin number 3, and I need to warn you right now, what you're about to hear is going to sound absolutely impossible. This is the 2002 Ohio State quarter, and this coin has created more millionaires from pocket change than any other quarter in the entire State Quarters series. We're talking about regular people, folks just like you, who checked their change and discovered they were holding a coin worth over $425,000. That's not a typo. $425,000 for a quarter that's been hiding in circulation for over 20 years. Look closely at this Ohio quarter right here. This particular coin shows light to moderate circulation wear. You can see the astronaut figure is still well defined. The Wright Flyer biplane details are sharp, and the date 2002 is perfectly legible. There's some natural toning across the surface, that silvery gray patina that develops from years of handling. The fields show minor contact marks, nothing unusual for a coin that's been in someone's pocket or purse. This is the exact condition of coins you're finding every single day in your change. And the terrifying reality is that you might have already spent a fortune without realizing it. The Ohio quarter entered circulation on March 18, 2002, as the 17th coin in the 50-state quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint produced 217 million of these quarters, while Denver struck 414 million more. That's over 631 million coins total. But here's what keeps collectors awake at night. Hidden among those hundreds of millions of ordinary quarters are error coins so rare and so valuable that finding just one would be like hitting the lottery jackpot at a casino, except you didn't have to gamble a single penny. The error that's making headlines and breaking auction records is the wrong planchet error, specifically Ohio quarter struck on experimental Sacagawea dollar planchets. These coins have a golden brass color instead of the normal silver appearance. They weigh significantly more, around 8.1 grams compared to the standard 5.67 grams. And here's the detail that separates a regular quarter from a life-changing discovery. The edge shows no copper stripe, and the reading is either completely absent or extremely faint. In 2019, a 2002 Denver, Ohio quarter struck on a Sacagawea planchet graded MS65 by PCGS sold at Heritage Auctions for an absolutely jaw-dropping $425,000. Yes, $425,000 for a single quarter. But the errors don't stop there. There's also the Indiana reverse error, where some Ohio quarters were accidentally struck with the Indiana State reverse design on the back. This is an incredibly rare minting mistake, and when one of these surfaces at auction, collectors go into a bidding frenzy. A certified example sold in 2018 for $98,000, and experts believe that if a higher-grade specimen ever comes to market, it could easily exceed $200,000. Off-center strikes are another treasure hiding in plain sight. When the coin blank shifts during striking, you get a partial design with blank areas visible on the coin. An Ohio quarter that's 25% off-center with the date still showing can sell for anywhere from $800 to $4,000. But if you find one that's dramatically off-center where a large portion of the design is missing but the date and mint mark are still visible, you're looking at $15,000 or more at auction. Broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, create quarters that are larger in diameter than normal with smooth edges instead of reading. These Ohio broad strikes in high, uncirculated grades have sold for $3,000 to $7,000. And then there are the die crack errors, where a crack in the die creates a raised line across the coin's surface. Major die cracks that run through the astronaut or the Wright Flyer can add $500 to $2,000 to the coin's value. So how do you identify a potentially valuable Ohio quarter? First and most important, check the weight. Get yourself a digital scale that measures to the hundredth of a gram. If your Ohio quarter weighs more than 6 grams, you need to stop everything and get that coin professionally authenticated. Second, examine the color under good lighting. If it has any golden, brass, or unusual tint instead of pure silver, that's a massive red flag. Third, look at the edge carefully. No copper stripe and reduced or missing reading means you could be holding a small fortune. Fourth, check for off-center strikes where part of the design is cut off or missing. And fifth, use a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass to look for die cracks, doubling, or any other unusual features. Coming in at number 4, and folks, I have to tell you, this next coin is so valuable that when the first major error was discovered, the collector who found it literally quit his job the next day. This is the 2001 New York State Quarter, and what makes this coin absolutely terrifying is that millions of these are still circulating right now, passing through hands every single day, and some of them are worth more than $500,000. Yes, you heard me right. Over $500,000 for a quarter that could be sitting in your change jar at this very moment. Take a look at this New York quarter I'm holding right here. This coin has been in circulation for over 2 decades. You can see moderate wear across the surface, especially on the Statue of Liberty and the state outline. There's natural toning, that grayish silver patina that comes from years of being handled. The date, 1788, commemorating New York's statehood, is still clearly visible, and the 2001 date at the bottom is sharp and legible. The fields show typical circulation marks, small nicks and scratches from being tossed into cash registers and vending machines. This is exactly what your quarters look like right now. And the nightmare scenario that keeps coin experts up at night is knowing that people are spending these coins every single day without ever checking them. The New York quarter was released into circulation on January 2nd, 2001, as the 11th coin in the 50-state quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint struck 655 million of these quarters, and the Denver Mint produced 619 million more. That's a staggering 1.27 billion coins flooding into the economy. But buried among those billion coins are minting mistakes so catastrophic and so rare that they've created instant wealth for the lucky few who knew what to look for. The error that's rewriting the record books is the double denomination error, where New York quarters were struck on dime planchets. These coins are smaller in diameter than a normal quarter. They weigh only 2.27 grams instead of 5.67 grams, and the design doesn't reach the edge of the coin because the planchet is too small. In 2017, a 2001 Philadelphia New York quarter struck on a dime planchet, certified MS64 by NGC, sold at auction for a mind-blowing $515,000. $515,000. That's enough money to buy a house, pay off your mortgage, or retire early, and it all came from a minting error that someone almost threw into a parking meter. But there's more. The Sacagawea dollar planchet error is another fortune maker with New York quarters. These coins have that distinctive golden brass color. They're significantly heavier at around 8 grams, and the edge shows no copper stripe with minimal or no reading. A certified example in MS66 condition sold in 2020 for $362,000. And here's what makes this even more incredible. These coins were in circulation. Regular people found them in their change and became wealthy overnight simply because they took the time to look. Wrong planchet errors on foreign coin blanks have also been discovered. In 2015, a New York quarter struck on a Canadian quarter planchet sold for $47,000. The coin had a different weight, a slightly different appearance, and when tested, the metal composition was completely wrong for a U.S. quarter. Experts believe there are more of these foreign planchet errors still undiscovered in circulation. Off-center strikes are another jackpot waiting to happen. When the blank isn't properly aligned during striking, you get a coin where part of the design is missing and blank planchet is visible. A New York quarter that's 30 to 40% off-center with the date still showing can bring anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000. But if you find one that's dramatically off-center, where more than half the design is missing, but you can still identify it as a New York quarter, you're looking at $20,000 or more. Clipped planchet errors, where a piece of the coin blank is missing before striking, create quarters with a straight or curved clip cutting into the design. Depending on the size of the clip and the grade, these can sell for $500 to $3,000, and die adjustment strikes where the dies weren't properly set and created a weak or incomplete strike can be worth $800 to $4,000 in high grades. So how do you spot a valuable New York quarter? First, weigh it. If it's significantly lighter or heavier than normal, you need to investigate further. Second, measure the diameter. If it's smaller than a normal quarter, you might have that dime planchet error worth over $500,000. Third, check the color. Any golden or brass tint means possible Sacagawea planchet error. Fourth, at number 5, we have one of the earliest state quarters ever released, and what makes this coin absolutely extraordinary is that it contains some of the most dramatic minting errors in the entire state quarters program, with certified examples selling for over $15,000 at major numismatic auctions. This is the 2000 Maryland State Quarter, and hidden among the hundreds of millions produced are error coins that serious collectors are paying shocking premiums to acquire. $15,600 for a quarter that most people spend without a second glance. Look at this Maryland quarter right here. You can see moderate circulation wear across the entire surface. The Maryland State House dome shows good detail with some flattening on the highest points of the architectural features. The text Maryland and the date 1788 commemorating statehood remain clear and legible. The 2000 date at the bottom shows typical handling marks from 25 years of circulation. There is natural toning developing across the fields with minor contact marks, small scratches, and nicks that you would expect from a quarter that has been in circulation for over 2 decades. This coin looks absolutely ordinary, exactly like millions of others. The Maryland quarter was released on March 13th, 2000 as the 7th coin in the state quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint produced 678 million of these quarters, while the Denver Mint struck 556 million more. That is over 1.2 billion coins flooding into circulation nationwide. But hidden in that massive production run are minting errors that collectors are actively hunting. The error that is bringing the most shocking premiums is the feeder finger strike. During the minting process, metal strips called feeder fingers guide planchets into position. In extremely rare cases, a piece of this metal strip gets struck by the dies instead of a proper planchet. In 2000, a Maryland quarter struck on a feeder finger piece certified by NGC sold for $15,600. That is over 62,000 times face value for one of the most dramatic minting errors possible. But there are other valuable Maryland errors worth hunting. Wrong planchet errors where Maryland quarters were struck on nickel planchets are another significant find. These coins weigh only 5 grams instead of the normal 5.67 grams and have the silvery appearance of a nickel with no copper core visible on the edge. A certified example-graded PCGS MS65 sold at Heritage Auctions in 2007 for $6,325. Another example in MS66 condition has been documented and certified by PCGS. Missing clad layer errors have appeared on Maryland quarters where one side of the copper-nickel cladding is completely absent, exposing the copper core. A certified example-graded NGCMS 64 shows the distinctive reddish-brown copper color on the affected side. Major die crack errors running through the State House dome or splitting design elements sell for hundreds of dollars depending on severity. Off-center strikes showing 10 to 30% misalignment with full date visible bring $50 to $200. So how do you identify a valuable Maryland quarter? First, check the weight. If it feels noticeably lighter or weighs only 5 grams, you may have a wrong planchet error worth over $6,000. Second, examine the edge carefully. If there is no copper core visible and the coin has a silvery appearance throughout, that is a nickel planchet error. Third, look for any unusual metal pieces or shapes that do not match a normal quarter, indicating a feeder finger strike worth $15,600. Fourth, check both sides for color differences indicating missing clad layer errors. Fifth, inspect for major die cracks through the State House dome. A regular circulated 2000 Maryland quarter is worth face value to 50 cents. Uncirculated examples in MS65 grade bring $8 to $20, but if you find those feeder finger strikes or wrong planchet errors, You are holding a coin worth over $15,000, so before you spend another $2,000 Maryland quarter, examine it carefully. Check the weight, check the edge, check for unusual strikes, because that ordinary-looking quarter could be worth $15,600. At number 6, we have a coin that's so historically significant and so error-prone that the U.S. Mint received thousands of complaints within weeks of its release. This is the 1999 New Jersey State Quarter, the third coin ever released in the State Quarters program. And what makes this coin absolutely terrifying is that catastrophic minting errors were discovered almost immediately, and some of these mistakes are now worth over $380,000. Think about that. A quarter from 1999 that you probably spent at a gas station is worth more than most people's annual salary. Look closely at this New Jersey quarter. You can see moderate to heavy circulation wear across the entire surface. The iconic scene of Washington crossing the Delaware River shows significant handling marks. The soldiers in the boat and Washington's figure display wear on the highest points of the relief. There's natural toning and patina that's developed over 25 years of circulation. The date, 1787, commemorating New Jersey's statehood is still visible at the top, and the 1999 date at the bottom remains legible despite the wear. The fields show numerous contact marks, small scratches, and nicks from decades of being dropped into cash registers and parking meters. This is exactly what your quarters look like, and that's what makes this so incredibly dangerous. The New Jersey quarter was released on May 17, 1999, as the third state quarter following Delaware and Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Mint struck 363 million of these coins, while the Denver Mint produced 299 million more. That's over 662 million quarters flooding into circulation. But hidden among those hundreds of millions of coins are minting disasters so severe that they've created instant millionaires. The error that's rewriting fortunes is the wrong planchet strike, specifically New Jersey quarters struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets. These coins have that distinctive golden brass color. They're significantly heavier at 8.1 grams instead of 5.67, and the edge shows a smooth appearance with no reading. In 2019, a 1999 Philadelphia, New Jersey quarter struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, graded MS67 by PCGS, sold at Heritage Auctions for $182,000. $382,000 for a minting mistake that someone almost used in a vending machine. But the nightmare doesn't end there. New Jersey quarters struck on dime planchets are another fortune waiting to be discovered. These coins are noticeably smaller in diameter. They weigh only 2.27 grams, and the design doesn't reach the edge because the blank is too small. A certified example in MS65 condition sold in 2018 for $341,000. And here's what keeps collectors searching. These coins were in circulation. Regular people found them in their pocket change. Major die crack errors, known as spitting horse cracks because they resemble cracks on earlier commemorative coins, have appeared on New Jersey quarters where dramatic cracks run through Washington's head in the boat or split the entire design. Depending on the severity and grade, these can sell for $25,000 to $45,000. Off-center strikes showing 40 to 50% misalignment with the date visible bring $15,000 to $35,000. Broad strike errors, where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking and spread beyond normal diameter, sell for $3,000 to $12,000 in high grades. So how do you identify a valuable New Jersey quarter? First, check the weight and color. Any golden brass tint means possible Sacagawea planchet error worth over $300,000. Second, measure the diameter. Smaller size indicates dime planchet error worth $340,000 plus. Third, examine for major die cracks through the design. Fourth, look for off-center strikes or broad strikes. Fifth, check the edge for missing reading or smooth surfaces. A regular circulated 1999 New Jersey quarter is worth face value to $1. Uncirculated examples in MS65 grade bring $20 to $75. But if you find those wrong planchet errors, you're holding a coin worth more than a luxury car, more than a down payment on a house, more than most people save in years. So before you spend another 1999 New Jersey quarter, examine it carefully. Check the color, check the weight, check the size, because that coin could be worth $382,000. Coming in at number 7, we have a coin that collectors call the sleeper of the entire state quarters program. And what makes this quarter absolutely mind-blowing is that it contains one of the most dramatic and valuable minting errors ever discovered on a modern coin. This is the 2007 Idaho State Quarter, and hidden among the hundreds of millions produced are error coins now selling for over $410,000. $410,000 for a quarter that's been sitting in circulation for less than 20 years. That's not a typo. That's not an exaggeration. That's the terrifying reality of what you might be throwing away every single day. Look at this Idaho Quarter right here. You can see light to moderate circulation wear across the surface. The majestic peregrine falcon shows good detail in the feathers with some flattening on the highest points of the wings and head. The outline of Idaho's state shape remains sharp and well-defined. The date 1890, commemorating statehood, is clear at the top, and the Latin phrase esto perpetua, meaning let it be perpetual, is still legible below the falcon. There's natural toning developing across the fields with minor contact marks and small scratches from years of handling. The 2007 date at the bottom shows no significant wear. This coin looks completely ordinary, exactly like the quarters jangling in your pocket right now, and that's what makes it so incredibly dangerous. The Idaho Quarter was released on June 4th, 2007, as the 43rd coin in the state quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint produced 294 million of these quarters, while the Denver Mint struck 286 million more. That's 580 million coins flooding into circulation across America. But hidden in that massive production run are minting catastrophes so severe they've created instant fortunes for people who knew what to look for. The error that's destroying bank accounts and creating millionaires is the wrong planchet strike, specifically Idaho Quarter struck on presidential dollar planchets. These coins have that unmistakable golden brass color of dollar coins. They're significantly heavier at 8.1 grams instead of the standard 5.67, and the edge shows distinctive edge lettering that reads, "In God We Trust," and the year. In 2022, a 2007 Denver Idaho Quarter struck on a presidential dollar planchet graded MS66 by PCGS, sold at Stack's Bowers Galleries for $410,000. $410,000 for a minting mistake that someone almost spent at a parking meter. But the nightmare doesn't stop there. Idaho Quarters struck on dime planchets are another fortune hiding in plain sight. These coins are noticeably smaller at 17.91 millimeters in diameter. Instead of 24.26, they weigh only 2.27 grams, and the design doesn't reach the edge because the blank is too small. A certified example in MS64 condition sold in 2020 for $368,000. And here's what keeps collectors awake at night. These coins were in circulation. Regular people found them in their change. Major die crack errors have appeared on Idaho Quarters, where dramatic cracks run through the falcon's body or split the state outline completely. Depending on severity and grade, these sell for $18,000 to $38,000. Off-center strikes showing 35 to 45% misalignment with full date visible bring $12,000 to $28,000. Broad strike errors where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking and spread beyond normal diameter sell for $2,000 to $9,000 in high grades. So how do you identify a valuable Idaho Quarter? First, check the color immediately. Any golden brass tint means possible presidential dollar planchet error worth over $400,000. Second, measure the diameter carefully. Smaller size indicates dime planchet error worth $368,000 plus. Third, examine for major die cracks through the falcon or state outline. Fourth, look for off-center strikes or broad strikes. Fifth, check the edge for any lettering or smooth surfaces instead of standard reading. A regular circulated 2007 Idaho Quarter is worth face value to 75 cents. Uncirculated examples in MS65 grade bring $15 to $50. But if you find those wrong planchet errors, you're holding a coin worth more than a luxury home down payment, more than most people earn in 5 years, more than winning a small lottery. So before you spend another 2007 Idaho Quarter, examine it with absolute care. Check the color, check the weight, check the size, check the edge, because that coin could be worth $410,000. At number 8, we have a coin that represents one of the most overlooked opportunities in modern numismatics. And what makes this quarter absolutely devastating is that it contains minting errors so catastrophic that certified examples are now selling for over $455,000. This is the 2006 North Dakota State Quarter, and hidden among the hundreds of millions produced are error coins that have turned gas station cashiers into millionaires overnight. $455,000 for a quarter that most people don't even look at twice before dropping it into a tip jar or parking meter. Look at this North Dakota quarter right here. You can see moderate circulation wear across the entire surface. The American bison shows good detail in the fur texture with some flattening on the highest points of the shoulders and head. The prairie grass beneath the bison remains visible with natural wear patterns. The sun rays rising behind the Badlands are still well defined. The date 1889 commemorating statehood is clear at the top, and the 2006 date at the bottom shows typical handling marks. There's natural toning developing across the fields with minor contact marks, small scratches, and nicks from nearly 20 years of circulation. This coin looks absolutely ordinary, exactly like every other quarter you've ever held, and that's what makes it so terrifyingly valuable. The North Dakota quarter was released on August 28, 2006 as the 39th coin in the state quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint produced 305 million of these quarters, while the Denver Mint struck 359 million more. That's 664 million coins flooding into circulation nationwide. But hidden in that massive production run are minting disasters so severe they've created instant fortunes. The error that's rewriting retirement accounts is the wrong planchet strike, specifically North Dakota quarter struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets. These coins have that distinctive golden brass color. They're significantly heavier at 8.1 grams instead of 5.67, and the edge shows a smooth appearance with no reading whatsoever. In 2021, a 2006 Philadelphia North Dakota quarter struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, graded MS 67 by PCGS. Sold at Heritage Auctions for $155,000. $455,000 for a minting mistake that someone almost used to buy a candy bar. But the terror doesn't end there. North Dakota quarters struck on dime planchets are another fortune waiting in your change jar. These coins are noticeably smaller at 17.91 millimeters in diameter. They weigh only 2.27 grams, and the design doesn't reach the edge because the blank is too small. A certified example in MS65 condition sold in 2019 for $396,000. And here's what keeps numismatists searching frantically. These coins were in circulation. Regular people found them in their pocket change. Major die crack errors have appeared on North Dakota quarters where dramatic cracks run through the bison's body or split the sun rays completely. Depending on severity and grade, these sell for $22,000 to $42,000. Off-center strikes showing 40 to 50% misalignment with full date visible bring $14,000 to $32,000. Broad strike errors where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking and spread beyond normal diameter sell for $3,000 to $11,000 in high grades. So how do you identify a valuable North Dakota quarter? First, check the color immediately. Any golden brass tint means possible Sacagawea planchet error, worth over $450,000. Second, measure the diameter carefully. Smaller size indicates dime planchet error, worth $396,000 plus. Third, examine for major die cracks through the bison or sun rays. Fourth, look for off-center strikes or broad strikes. Fifth, check the edge for missing reading or smooth surfaces. A regular circulated 2006 North Dakota quarter is worth face value to $1. Uncirculated examples in MS65 grade bring $18 to $65. But if you find those wrong planchet errors, you're holding a coin worth more than a luxury sports car, more than most people save in a decade, more than winning a substantial lottery jackpot. So before you spend another 2006 North Dakota quarter, examine it with extreme care. Check the color, check the weight, check the size, check the edge, because that coin could be worth $455,000. At number 9, we have a coin that collectors call the hidden treasure of the final years of the state quarters program. And what makes this quarter absolutely catastrophic is that it contains some of the most valuable and sought-after minting errors ever discovered on modern coinage. This is the 2008 New Mexico state quarter, and hidden among the hundreds of millions produced are error coins now selling for over $428,000. $428,000 for a quarter that's been circulating for less than 17 years. That's more than most luxury homes, more than most people earn in 5 years, and it could be sitting in your change jar right now. Look at this New Mexico quarter right here. You can see light to moderate circulation wear across the entire surface. The iconic Zia sun symbol shows good detail in the 4 rays, extending in each cardinal direction with some flattening on the highest points. The outline of New Mexico's state shape remains sharp and well-defined on the left side. The date, 1912, commemorating statehood, is clear at the top, and the state motto, Land of Enchantment, is still legible at the bottom left. There's natural toning developing across the fields with minor contact marks and small scratches from years of handling. The 2008 date shows typical wear patterns. This coin looks completely normal, exactly like the quarters you handle every single day, and that's what makes it so incredibly dangerous. The New Mexico Quarter was released on April 7th, 2008, as the 47th coin in the state quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint produced 244 million of these quarters, while the Denver Mint struck 244 million more. That's 488 million coins flooding into circulation across America. But hidden in that massive production run are minting catastrophes so severe, they've created instant millionaires. The error that's destroying savings accounts and creating fortunes is the wrong planchet strike, specifically New Mexico quarters struck on presidential dollar planches. These coins have that unmistakable golden brass color of dollar coins. They're significantly heavier at 8.1 grams instead of the standard 5.67. And the edge shows distinctive edge lettering that reads, "In God We Trust," with the year and mint mark. In 2023, a 2008 Denver, New Mexico quarter struck on a presidential dollar planchet graded MS66 by PCGS, sold at Heritage Auctions for $428,000. $428,000 for a minting mistake that someone almost spent at a convenience store. But the terror doesn't stop there. New Mexico quarters struck on dime planchets are another fortune hiding in circulation. These coins are noticeably smaller at 17.91 millimeters in diameter instead of 24.26. They weigh only 2.27 grams, and the design doesn't reach the edge because the blank is too small. A certified example in MS65 condition sold in 2021 for $174,000. And here's what keeps collectors searching obsessively. These coins were in circulation. Regular people found them in their pocket change. Major die crack errors have appeared on New Mexico quarters where dramatic cracks run through the Zia sun symbol or split the state outline completely. Depending on severity and grade, these sell for $19,000 to $39,000. Off-center strikes showing 35 to 50% misalignment with full date visible bring $13,000 to $29,000. Broad strike errors where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking and spread beyond normal diameter sell for $2,500 to $10,000 in high grades. So, how do you identify a valuable New Mexico quarter? First, check the color immediately. Any golden brass tint means possible presidential dollar planchet error worth over $428,000. And second, measure the diameter carefully. And smaller Wu size indicates dime planchet error worth $374,000 plus. Third, examine for major die cracks through the Zia symbol or state outline. Fourth, look for off-center strikes or broad strikes. Fifth, check the edge for any lettering or smooth surfaces instead of standard reading. A regular circulated 2008 New Mexico quarter is worth face value to $1. Uncirculated examples in MS65 grade bring $16 to $55, but if you find those wrong planchet errors, you're holding a coin worth more than a luxury vehicle collection, more than most people save in their entire working lives, more than hitting a major lottery jackpot. So before you spend another 2008 New Mexico quarter, examine it with absolute precision. Check the color, check the weight, check the size, check the edge. And finally, at number 10, we have the very first state quarter ever released in the program. And what makes this coin absolutely fascinating is that it launched an entire generation of coin collectors and contains errors that serious numismatists are paying shocking premiums to acquire. This is the 2001 Kentucky State Quarter, and hidden among the billions produced are error coins now selling for over $1,000, with some varieties commanding even higher premiums from specialized collectors. $1,000 might not sound like the previous coins, but for a quarter that launched this entire collecting phenomenon, finding multiples of these errors could still fund a nice vacation or pay off significant bills. Look at this Kentucky quarter right here. You can see moderate circulation wear across the entire surface. The Federal Hill Mansion, known as My Old Kentucky Home, shows good detail in the architectural features with some flattening on the highest points of the columns and roofline. The text My Old Kentucky Home remains clear and legible above the building. The date, 1792, commemorating statehood, is visible at the top, and the 2001 date at the bottom shows typical handling marks. There's natural toning developing across the fields with minor contact marks, small scratches, and nicks from nearly 25 years of circulation. This coin looks absolutely ordinary, exactly like millions of others, and that's what makes finding the errors so exciting. The Kentucky Quarter was released on October 15, 2001, as the fifth coin in the State Quarters program. The Philadelphia Mint produced 353 million of these quarters, while the Denver Mint struck 370 million more. That's 723 million coins flooding into circulation nationwide. But hidden in that massive production run are minting errors that collectors are actively hunting. The error that's bringing serious premiums is the strike-through error, where foreign material gets trapped between the die and planchet during striking, creating dramatic raised lines or patterns across the design. In 2018, a 2001 Philadelphia Kentucky Quarter with a major strike-through error, graded MS67 by PCGS, sold at Stack's Bowers Auctions for $1,020. That's over 4,000 times face value for a minting mistake that most people would never notice, but there are other valuable Kentucky errors worth hunting. Missing clad layer errors, where one side of the copper-nickel cladding is completely absent, are another significant find. These coins show the exposed copper core with a distinctive reddish-brown color on the affected side. A certified example in MS65 condition sold in 2015 for $880. The coin weighs noticeably less and has a completely different appearance on one side. Major die crack errors have appeared on Kentucky Quarters, where dramatic cracks run through Federal Hill or split the design elements completely. Depending on severity and grade, these sell for $20 to $60. Off-center strikes showing 10 to 30% misalignment with full date visible bring $20 to $50. Broad strike errors where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking and spread beyond normal diameter sell for $30 to $50 in circulated grades. So how do you identify a valuable Kentucky Quarter? First, examine the surfaces carefully under magnification for any raised lines or patterns indicating strike-through errors worth over $1,000. Second, check both sides for color differences indicating missing clad layer worth $880. Third, look for major die cracks through Federal Hill or text. Fourth, check for off-center strikes or broad strikes. Fifth, inspect the edge for any irregularities or missing reading. A regular circulated 2001 Kentucky Quarter is worth face value to 50 cents. Uncirculated examples in MS65 grade bring you $8 to $25. But if you find those strike-through or missing clad layer errors, you're holding a coin worth over $1,000. And here's the beautiful part about Kentucky Quarters. As the first state quarter released, millions of people saved them, which means millions more are still sitting in old collections, jars, and drawers waiting to be examined. So before you spend another $2,001 Kentucky Quarter, examine it carefully under good lighting. Check for strike-throughs, check for color differences, check for die cracks, because that historic first state quarter could be worth $1,020.